Where do you want transformation? Start speaking of it as if it's already happened. I feel so good. I look so young. My life's so easy. Money shows up when I need it. It's preposterous in the beginning, but that's the way this game works. We have to stop relying on our physical senses to the extreme that we do, which told me my life was a train wreck and it was all bad when it was all good. Stop relying exclusively on our physical senses. They still serve an important purpose, and start creating that inner world with thought and emotion that maybe even for extra credit you speak of, even if only in front of the mirror. My life is easy. I have total clarity. Everything I touch turns to gold. And then, for the coup de grace, you start acting little demonstrations as if you're worthy.
I'd like to welcome to the show the legendary Mike Dooley. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, nice to be welcomed by a legend, and I'll try to live up to my name there.
Mike, I appreciate you, man. I've been following you for a long time, and the work that you've been doing in the world. You're one of those pioneers in this space of understanding the universe, connecting with the universe, the law of attraction. You were in that little independent film called The Secret. Those years ago. But I love what you do with Notes from the Universe. I just found that so beautiful. When I first heard it, I was like, man, thank God someone's doing this. This is before I was ever in this space. I was still following you before I ever got into this crazy podcasting world. So I appreciate you and what you do for the world, my friend. So thanks.
Oh my gosh. Likewise. Thank you, Alex.
So my first question is what inspired you to do Notes from the Universe? And what is Notes for the Universe for people who don't know?
Okay, well, in the depths of the dark night of my soul, literally as the calendar was going from 1999, which was no party for me, into the year 2000, I was winding down, mopping up much of my life. I just liquidated a business I had run with my brother for 10 years, my mother as well. Tut t-shirts, Tut gifts. It used to be Totally Unique t-shirts. Then Totally Unique Thoughts. We got the domain name tut.com before I really even knew what a domain name was. So we have tut.com. And in 1999, at the end of it, I was approaching 40. I had just liquidated this business. My girlfriend had run off with her boyfriend. And it wasn't me.
I was about to say
it was as weird and awkward as that must have sounded. They say looking for a light at the end of the tunnel. I had no tunnel. I had a big mortgage. I had no income. And I was like, how did this happen to me of all people?
I'm a good person.
Yeah. And in the prior 10 years, Mom, Andy, and I had sold, millions of dollars worth of our t-shirts, Totally Unique t-shirts, which had my brother's art. He's an amazing graphic artist and teacher of reality to this day. And my little inscriptions about believe in yourself, picture in your mind all that you may be, and with a little time you will come to see that in the game of life your dreams will come alive by thinking of the end result as if it had arrived. So we had these metaphysical thoughts with souvenir dolphins and whales and fishies, and that business had gone great guns, but the trends were declining and we decided to go out or we'd sink with the ship. And so I wanted something to remind me every day of the truths of reality. I believe they are absolute. They are immovable. I don't like the idea everybody has their own truth. There goes all your power. There are certain inviolate, immovable truths. We all have our own road, our own path to truth. There's a million roads to Rome, but not one of those roads changes Rome. We are creators. We are of the divine. Our thoughts become things. There is only love. Everything plays to a greater good. Those are immovable. And I remember thinking, don't try to figure out how you got to this, nightmare car crash of your life. Drill down into the truth. Remind yourself, immerse yourself in it daily, and figure out how to move forward without figuring out what had just happened. And later, if you want, you can look back at the carnage and, dissect it and be, the MC narrating the drama. But I needed to save my life. Financially, romantically, unattached, no relationships, no kids, nothing. I felt like I had nothing to show for 40 years of my life. And plus, turning 40 was like so ominous and scary. Little did I know 23 years ago what a small speed bump that was. But one of the things I did to immerse myself in truth back in the day, when Windows was just coming on the scene, there was a screensaver. And there would be a little biplane that would fly in the dark, and you could put a little banner after it. And I would say, Mike, it's all illusions. Mike, you're dreaming. Mike, you're not alone. Mike, you're all powerful. You're eternal. You're a gladiator of love and joy. Just to get myself like out of this funk of real confusion and devastating heartbreak. I literally wondered if I'd ever be happy again after my girlfriend left and I was nauseous and losing weight. I don't have weight to lose. And I remember praying on my knees at the side of my bed every night, an old thing from my Catholic days. It gave me comfort then. I wasn't a Catholic any longer, but still extremely spiritual, just saying, dear God, I have no idea how I created this mess, but I know what I want. Wealth and abundance, so I don't lose my home. Friends and laughter, creator fulfilling work, and international travel. You figure it out. Which was, we can revisit that in a minute. That was a really magical formula to give the hows to divine intelligence, where I insisted on desired end results. And with vision boards and affirmations, and wanting to be immersed in truth, I scoured the baby thing called the internet back in 1999, and I was looking for like daily jolts of inspiration, and really could not find any with new thought metaphysics entwined. And because I had a small database of 1,000 email addresses of people who visited our t-shirt stores who wanted to know of the deal of the week, nobody ever bought. We were not a secure online shopping experience. We didn't even know the difference between secure and unsecure. But I still was sending out these little poems about picture in your mind all that you can be, and with a little time. And we had hundreds of other little poems about our power and life's beauty. And so I started sending out emails as Mike, which were never that popular. But some weeks I had negative subscriber growth. But by the end of writing one, and in the beginning, I was like, Mike, if people knew where your life was right now, they wouldn't be so inclined to read what you have to say. But since nobody was sending them, I started sending what I wanted to receive, is the answer of your question. And from there, Alex, it evolved into this niggling feeling like, Mike, when you say that you're the eyes and the ears of the divine in an email, and that your thoughts become things, your words give you wings, all things are possible, and you sign it as Mike, it's like, it's just a buzzkill. And I had this idea, if I signed it as the universe, a metaphor for God, without bringing in religion, I could say and get more, I could say things I couldn't say as Mike, get more carried away, and it would land totally differently. And I'm like, I can't do that, that's arrogant and presumptuous. Here I am, with the carnage of my life, pretending to be almighty, but the feeling wouldn't go away. And so I remember 9 months into writing emails that were originally weekly that turned into daily, as Mike, I was like, just do it on a Friday, just write as the universe. And so I set out that morning to write, and writing for me is always fits and starts and, type, copy, paste, curse, type, copy, cut, paste, curse. But by the end of the day, I had written something to the effect of, your attention, please. Your attention, please. This is the universe. And I didn't know what would come next, but that's my writing process. And then I wrote, today, I'll be recording your every thought and emotion, your every word and behavior, no matter how generous or stingy, no matter how empowering or fearful, no matter how this or that or this or that, and everything I record, Alex, they're all personalized, will be played back for you as soon as possible as some type of physical manifestation in your life. Thank you. That is all. And that gave room for the introduction of humor. Like if Mike says thanks, that's all, it's not funny. But if it's God and it's like thanks, if it's God, oh my gosh, so there's room for levity and surprise, which is the key for humor. I'm not hilarious. I'm not known to be funny by my friends, but it sparked a grin and people replied and people loved it. And it took 6 more months, Alex, before I was like, Mike, stop writing as Mike Monday through Thursday and do what you're doing every Friday, because it turned into an every Friday, and just write notes from the universe. And subscribers have never stopped coming just from word of mouth, the free emails. Thousands and thousands have been written. Most took 4 to 6 hours to write, but they're all about a paragraph long. And that began this little cottage industry of Tut's Adventurers Club and real life adventures and world tours and the life of my dreams.
Wow, that's amazing. Really quickly, though, I want to just go back a little bit farther from where you started with your story. You have a lot of metaphysical aspects to you and a lot of these ideas that, to be honest, at that time was not as open as it is now. Where did you come that being an ex-Catholic? I'm also a recovering Catholic. So where did you find these ideas? I mean, I'm assuming you read books or you found something that kind of brought that into your world.
Yes. Yeah. Back then, this kind of talk could be found in the occult section of bookstores.
Obviously. And we're all demons. We're all demons, Mike.
My mom was always an avid reader, just crazed reader. Yeah. I've always shunned reading, didn't like reading, was not a good reader. But when I was in college, so about 20 years old, pre-internet, pre-cell phone, she mailed me this book. It was the Seth Material. Dictated by Channel Jane Roberts with a post-it note, you must read this. And she told me over the phone in our weekly, corded call, she said, this lady goes into trance and Seth comes through and her husband takes longhand dictation and boom, book after book, perfectly dictated from Seth. And I was like, Mom, you lost it. This is a bridge too far. This is cuckoo if you don't tell anybody what you're doing. And she's like, shut up, read Seth, forget where it came from, sense out the validity or not thereof. And I did what I was told, always close to Mom, and it changed my entire life forever and ever. Up until then, I had been a huge seeker. My freshman year at university, I was just like, why the hell are we here? Everybody dies. Are you kidding? After a short life and they're gone forever. It's like, what is the point? Nothing made sense. But when you're really seeking with some kind of sense that there must be an answer, I know it is out there, you become a magnet to that answer. Ideas attract in the law of attraction like material possessions. And for me, they came through my mother. Then she found Richard Bach books. Then she found Ramtha by J.Z. Knight, the White Book. Then she found Edgar Cayce. And she was sending me these books, and I'm just like, hallelujah. It's like everything I had suspected, everything I had deduced on my own, that there can only be God, that everything's God, everyone's doing their best, there's no hell, there's no devil, those are concoctions of the human mind and of men with agendas. Seth confirmed. And then Seth went way further than I could possibly go, speaking of, the eternal validity of the soul, but in words that were understandable, and always speaking reverently of life and absolutely of our power. And I was like, this is my ticket for living a great life. And so I graduated, became a CPA, worked for Price Waterhouse after 6 years, did the t-shirt business with Mom and Andy. We did great, by the way. We never went bankrupt. We didn't owe anybody a penny, but we just got out before the trends took us down, which at the time I thought was the biggest nightmare of my life. As I recounted the dark night of my soul, nothing was right. In hindsight, looking back at the carnage, to wonder, like, what was that all about? You know, how screwed up was I? What beliefs did I bring about that sabotaged my progress so much? And Alex, there's no sign of a train wreck. It was the beginning of the biggest dream of my life coming true. The train of my life stopped, which is weird enough, so that it could change tracks, so that I could be more creative, reach more people, be more widely read. I didn't even have any but 2 self-published books at the time. Now I've got 18. Simon & Schuster, Hay House are my publishers. It was the beginning of the biggest dream of my life coming true. But to the physical senses, it was all bad. And had I gone looking for what was wrong with me, I would have found stuff. I would have made stuff up to such a degree. I would have needed a team of people to undo the mess that I was, which is not a knock against coaching or therapy. There's a place for all of that. But never lose sight that you are a creator and that you are the greater of whatever you're facing, because you created it. So whether it's a diagnosis or a bankruptcy or anything, you are its creator. Therefore, you are its greater. And by looking forward, I was able to get it on with all the metaphysical, living deliberately, creating consciously, things that I've been teaching now for 23 years, and be the example of what it is. And ironically, I know you've seen this too, the more I took care of my little self and my cup started overflowing, the greater my definition of self became. And now it's like, you know, God, everybody should live like this. Everybody should know these things. And so whether it's a charity, and I support several in a mighty way, or it's helping other people get started in business, or different things that I do, I see myself in everyone now. And I think that's the beauty of what selfishness is can be. It's usually defined as, you know, my needs, not yours. But I didn't believe we were here to put the needs of others before our own. I didn't choose to be Mike Dooley so that I could set down Mike Dooley aside and live other people's lives or problems. When you take care of business at home first, as Mom would teach, you begin seeing yourself in everyone. And when your infernos have been put out and your traction has been gained, what you most want to do is share the love, share the bounty, empower people, teach them to fish. And so my life has, you know, soared and taken off. And I'm not challenge free or problem free, but I'm always learning. And what I learn, I relay. And it's like, God, man, this is the coolest gig ever.
So really, that leads me to my next question about our friend Sarah Landon, who connected us. And you wrote a beautiful book, The Dream, The Journey in Eternity and God, with friend of the show, Sarah Landon, who's been on like 3 times at this point, I think 3 or 4 times. I lost track. But she's a channel. And she was one of the first people I spoke to who really was kind of introduced to channeling that way. You were introduced to channeling through Sarah, through Seth. Right. So can you explain to people what channeling is from your perspective if they don't understand the concept?
Sure. Well, as I shared earlier, there are certain immovable truths, very few and far between, one of which is that we are all one. We are all of God, by God, pure God. There can't be God and non-God. Right? There's no God and then their lower 40 acres, you know, God's tool shed. It's like God's tool shed is God. Everything is God. And God is a small word for the enormity and the majesty and the power and the love that is indisputable when you look at the miracles that our physical senses alone share. And so with this oneness, I mean, really, Alex, there's only you and more you. And that includes me. And for me, from this lens, there's only me and more me. And so it begins making sense what many of these profound channeled messages from Sarah, the council, and others have said, we are multidimensional beings that have chosen an exquisite focus in the density of time, space, and matter, third dimension, as it is otherwise referred to. The divine, or all that is, which is maybe even more inclusive, is truly, if you will, words fail when applied to truth, but we do the best we can and we make some ground. Everywhere, always at once. The divine, all that is everywhere, always at once. Because time and space, as modern day scientist has shown, matter as well is illusionary. It's a concoction. So being everywhere, always at once, you can't see yourself, understand yourself, or have different perspectives. So the idea was arranged that by forgetting momentarily that we're everywhere, always at once, there could be an emissary, if you will, a spark of the divine set out, which is pure divinity, like a drop of the ocean is pure ocean. And they can fleetingly believe that I am here, not there. I am now, not later. I have or have not. The truth is, we're all everywhere, always at once. Mm-hmm. There can only be everywhere, always at once. But we play this game for the joy of it, for the adventure of it, for the enthrall, and for the emotions that are born of living a life thinking that the illusions are reality. And then we find ourselves, as Mike and Alex, just sparks of the divine. You and I are connected at a medium level, besides just being the same spark of the divine, if you will. There's higher selves, there's spirit guides, there's a whole bunch of them. At the density of earth or in between. There's soul families, there's soul connections. Wherever there's love, wherever there's intrigue, wherever there's likeness of thought, we attract each other. And what Sarah and Jane Roberts and so many now, my God, you've gotten such a stable of stars in your repertoire and in your shows. More and more people are inspired by this and wondering, can I do it? Of course, we can all do it. Even this conversation, mine and yours, is channeled. It's not the physical cells of our body that are producing this conversation. We are each channels of our spirit. As Matt Kahn says, most of us just channel our ego, but it's still spirit. And so we all have the ability to tune in to other aspects of ourselves, whether it's our higher self or someone further removed, Beethoven or the mailman. We have that ability through broadening our scope with intention, understanding the truth and the nature of reality that reveals our connectedness in love, and with good intentions, because we will only sabotage ourselves if we're trying to trick somebody or manipulate somebody, with good intentions to bring forth clarity for more joyful living to all within reach. We then create the license to speak from our highest self, or draw in other versions of our reincarnational soul family, which do include sparks of awareness on other planets and other dimensions. I mean, at some point, we're not going to have this enough commonality. I'm sure there's space ghosts that live on Saturn that don't resonate with time, space, and matter. So, we're not going to channel them. But when we have desire and intent, and maybe even chose this lifetime in part, there's always free will, can change anything, but in desire in part to maybe raise the frequency of a planet going through chaos as ours is right now, to be a light, to hold the energy, we tap into that to bring forth our higher self. And so there's no doubt that there are times when I've written some of my books and when I've written some of the thousands of notes from the universe that I was better able than other times to get out of my own egoic way and just let spirit, aka intuition, aka my higher self, come through. Some folks can do that in trance and they don't remember a thing. Other folks do it with waking trance. Other folks do it through automatic writing. Other folks do it through sports or the arts or entrepreneurship. It's like, it's all spirit, and we all do it, and we can all learn to do it to the degree of a Sarah Landon or Jane Roberts.
What's funny, Mike, is as I'm hearing you talk, you sound like a channel to me. I have such an experience with, I've spoken to so many channels in my day. Hearing your voice, I swear to God, you're channeling somebody because of the cadence, the way you move. Maybe it's just 20 odd years of you doing this, but man, you just flow so beautifully and you don't hiccup. So it's really close to channeling, my friends. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, I love to hear that. I love to hear that. And I'm choosing to believe and see it more and more myself. And yeah, well, we all channel everything. And I think with the experience that I've had, which has allowed me to believe in it more. Have you read Illusions by Richard Bach?
Oh, of course. That's one of my first
books.
I
knew you would have.
Well, I think I have it back here somewhere. It's yeah.
So do I. I have like multiple copies around the house. Well, the Messiah, the playful Messiah, Don Shimoda, in that book picks up a guitar and starts playing this little toy guitar in a country drugstore. And Richard Bach, who's also a character in the story, says, "I didn't know you could play guitar, Richard." And he says, "You think any Messiah worth his salt couldn't pick up any instrument and play it?" He said, "Richard, the trick is removing from your thoughts any belief that you can't. Do you think any Messiah would be able to say, 'Oh, no, I'm sorry, can't speak Mandarin'?" It's like we can all do all those things, which your guests have said. This is the sixth density Christ consciousness potential within all of us. We can all bend the illusions of time, space, and matter. We can all tap into direct knowing, call it channeling, call it our higher selves. We can all do anything. That's why it's common vernacular, even old school. All things are possible. Nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. And Jesus said, "The things I do, you will do greater." And he didn't say, "If you go to my church." He didn't say, "If you become a vegan." He didn't say, "If you skip meat on Fridays." He didn't say, "First you must profess your sins." He said that we can do it. Believe and ye shall receive. No caveats. And so we're all learning how to navigate our beliefs and trust like a child in life's magic, bringing forth spirit, operating at a higher operating platform, so that ego is precious, beautiful ego. Nothing wrong with it. It's just that we put it in the driver's seat, put it in the co-pilot seat, so it can kind of be your ears and eyes on the ground. Whereas 99% of the time, we are going to be fluid, bringing forth the highest wisdom, always knowing to turn left or right, never faltering on what word comes next. This is what awaits all of us. And this is what we're on the cusp of experiencing. This is such an extraordinary, exciting time to be alive, a time of awakening. Aquarius, a brand new Mayan calendar. We're being removed and moving through Book of Revelations, Nostradamus. They all tuned into this time. It's going to be crazy, but the upside's out of this world. And so we're beginning to see that.
So let me ask you this question, because I agree with everything you've said. Manifestation, the law of attraction, these ideas, people weren't ready for them 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60s, 70s, 80s. Not really. Maybe a couple people in the occult section of the bookstore will have understood it. But when a movie like The Secret shows up, for better or worse, not perfect, but it created the idea in a mass way that shifted the awareness of the entire of a large swath of our population. Movies do this as well. The Matrix did it with simulation theory. There's so many of these kind of movies that come out. The multiverse now is being talked about everywhere, where the concept of parallel realities and multiverse were like, oh, that's just science fiction. Now quantum physicists are saying, no, there's something there. So do you agree that there are these big moments, these big things that come out, a book, that comes out and changes people's mind? We're just all starting to get more awakened. We're all, just drudging through the mud, getting ourselves cleaned out, and like, oh, I can start seeing some light. Is that where you think this is all going? Where we're all headed to?
Gosh, yes. And that was a watershed moment when The Secret came out. And while Rhonda told me before, even filming, she said, the goal here is to bring joy to billions. And indisputably, that's been done. I mean, when I've traveled around impoverished countries, South America, parts of Asia, bootleg vendors were selling, pornography and crazy stuff, and then copies of The Secret. And I would joke with audiences, when truth begins selling neck and neck with pornography, something's going down on that planet. Oh my God. And what The Secret did, I think, was gave people permission to recognize that they actually have a point of contact with their future and how things will play out. And it also simultaneously imparted a lesson about responsibility. I mean, responsibility, with great power, Superman's dad said, comes great responsibility.
Spider-Man.
Thank you.
I can't let that go. I can't. If I would let that go, the comments would explode, sir. So I'm just calling you out on that, sir. Thank you. Let's move on.
Thank you so much. Well, conversely, with great responsibility, which, we are still emerging from very primitive times, speaking to the evolution of consciousness. We've been driven, and understandably so, by fear and survival. But when we move into a place of like, hey, maybe life isn't just happening to me. Hey, maybe if I started speaking more optimistically about my life, hey, maybe this is the power of positive thinking. Maybe there's more to it than just a way of looking at life. Maybe there's a real power there. And I think that was the first time that people got an inkling of like, you don't have to take it anymore. You have choice, you have options. And hey, doesn't this resonate with what we've been taught, in the 70s and 80s about the power of positive thinking? Doesn't this resonate with the fact that athletes use creative visualization, create a picture in your mind of your desired end result, and you fool your body? It doesn't know the difference between the imagination and reality. And so suddenly people started getting it. And of course, it could only have been because at that point in the societies and the civilizations wanderings, that they were beginning to not have to hoe out in the fields 9 all waking hours, and everybody started to become, maybe in the last 50 years, thanks to technology, an armchair philosopher. Pause and wonder, how come so and so is always lucky? How come so and so is always unlucky? I remember when I first came into the power of creative visualization, again, thanks to my mom as a teenager, playing a competitive tennis circuit, she was like, read this book, Psycho-Cybernetics, and read this other one, Inner Game of Tennis, The Power of Thought. And I had my first girlfriend. Her name was Patty. She had long blonde hair right down to her belt. Mm-hmm. I like this to share to audiences. And I would always be terrified of these awkward silences with my, this girl that I was holding hands with, a girl in high school. Like, oh man, I was a slow bloomer, late bloomer. But I felt awkward in these silences. Like, why isn't she talking? Have I said something stupid? Is this the beginning of the end? I was desperate to say anything. And I started to say, because my uncle visiting from London, I lived in the States, was always jet lagged. He'd be like, I'm so exhausted. I'm bloody exhausted. I started to say, I'm so tired, even though I wasn't, just to say something. And would you believe, and I was like a fly on the wall, I could see what I had done only in hindsight by saying, every time there was a silence, which was all the time, and I was hypersensitive to it, I'm really tired. I'm so tired, Patty. I don't know. I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. You tired? I'm tired. Finally, she's like, Mike, why are you always so tired? And I remember the response was like, I don't know, but I am. And I realized saying an utter lie, contrary to evidence surrounding me, that I was tired often enough actually ground my poor self to a halt in fatigue. And I wondered if I stopped saying how tired I am all the time, even though by then I was. That's one of the scary things. We're powerful whether we know it or not. Wherever you point that thing, there's an effect in the illusions. And even though I'm tired now, if I stop saying how tired I am, I wonder if I'll feel better. And it was like that, Alex. It was shocking. And it's like, and I tell audiences, Don't you think you could do the same? Do you think if you felt great right now and you started saying 12 times a day how exhausted you were, don't, without any more self-improvement books, without changing your diet, without being aware of what you're doing in the world, just say you're tired 12 times a day and really feel it. Do you think you'd succeed? And it's like, hell yes, they'd succeed. They all know they would. So flip it. Where do you want transformation? Start speaking of it as if it's already happened. I feel so good. I look so young. My life's so easy. Money shows up when I need it. It's preposterous in the beginning, but that's the way this game works. We have to stop relying on our physical senses to the extreme that we do, which told me my life was a train wreck and was all bad when it was all good. Stop relying exclusively on our physical senses. They still serve an important purpose, and start creating that inner world with thought and emotion that maybe even for extra credit you speak of, even if only in front of the mirror. My life is easy. I have total clarity. Everything I touch turns to gold. And then, I mean, for the coup de grace, you start acting little demonstrations as if you're worthy, as if you had energy, as if you felt better, as if money was abundant. You, like Seth would say in Jane Roberts' books, you know, even spending a few pennies a day, if you're poor, on a few select items, or give a few pennies away, adjusted for inflation, a few dollars away, or a few rupees away, or a few euros away, demonstrating your inner witness sees this. Your inner witness doesn't know the difference. Your inner witness, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, is like, this is not the same Mike. This is not the same world. And new evidence starts assembling that you can't see. But as you continue living your life, not sitting on the couch with a vision board waiting for Oprah to call, she's not calling, as you continue living your life, making baby steps in the direction of transformation, asking for help, circulating a resume, printing a business card, doing some drafts of your manuscript, you become convinced, ultimately eroding invisible limiting self-sabotaging beliefs that you didn't even have to pinpoint ahead of time. They might not even exist. Don't go looking, I say. And all of a sudden, the evidence of your life, almost through a metamorphosis, almost imperceptibly, begins shifting until there's enough weight of it that even if you had invisible limiting beliefs, they no longer make sense in light of your surroundings. And this upward spiral begins. And you realize that you were born to thrive. In the height of our naiveties as a civilization, we're still thriving. But when you get out of your own way by knowing a few little tricks and you get congruent with your words and your thoughts, there's no stopping you. And I love to share this, if I may continue just a little more.
Please.
Here. I used to worry when I first found out that, you know, my thoughts become things, and I'm reading the Seth books, and Ramtha confirmed it. Like when I first got out of school, I was working for Price Waterhouse, and things went bad. I had bad reviews. I was unwanted on any audit team, and I was pretty sure I was imminently about to be fired from a job I made sure everyone I knew I had. It was, I could not stop worrying. And to this day, I'll have a fear, not like back then, where I'm like, oh my God, thoughts become things. And all I'm thinking of is doom and gloom and fear and worry and what if. And I remember thinking, you know, okay, you can't stop this runaway train of fear. I am waving the white flag, but you can simultaneously start another train running. And so get on the couch, my mom's living room. I lived at home at the time after I got home from work. Lie down on your back, set a timer for 5 minutes, and visualize that you are happy at work, that everything is working, that you say hi to the partners and they say hi back to you. Because up until then, I was the pariah. I was like bad news bear. Nobody wanted me. I was just like one of the, you know, people sort out. These guys are good. These girls are awesome. This guy sucks. Don't just like, I was that guy. So I visualized for 5 minutes a day. And Alex, even when I visualized that everything was turning around and I was happy, I'd wonder if the pink slip was really pink. The pink slip is the metaphor for the termination slip. I don't know why they call it the pink slip, but I remember thinking, you're going to find out. even with a tainted, spoiled negativity infesting my 5 minutes of creative visualization, I prevailed. I got a call from human resources. He said, tax department is slammed. Audit department would not mind loaning you to the tax department. It was their busy season. And so I was transferred. My career blasted off. And time again, I've had fears that I couldn't stop, but I could simultaneously muster a few minutes a day where I could think infested positive thoughts. And I have lost track. Not that I haven't had setbacks, disappointments, broken hearts. I have lost track of the crises that were averted. And Mark Twain said this famously. I have had countless worries in my life, none of which came to pass. And as a teacher of this, I was like, if thoughts become things and it's as predictable as gravity, which I have told countless audiences, then how come that bad crap doesn't always come to pass? Because I think more of it, at least then I thought more of it than I was thinking the good thought. And it's our in hindsight, you ask questions, you get the answers. You and I and everyone listening, watching right now, we are sparks of the divine, gladiators of joy, eternal beings, careening through the jungles, the sacred, hallowed jungles of time and space, and in realms we can't even fathom. And we go here and we go there where we want. And when we chose planet Earth to be who we now are, it was for the joy, for the possibilities, for the abundance that is innately something that we are all born worthy of. Now, we could parse this and talk about a poor child in an impoverished nation where there's disease and drought ravaging it. There's an explanation for everything. But generally, for everyone watching this right now, you got it pretty damn good. And so does most everybody else. And we don't have to look at outliers to say, well, that this theory can't be right. Given our nature and the joy and the love and the power that brought us here, with the intention of thriving and falling in love with world, other people, ourselves, and being loved. When we think thoughts in alignment with those absolute truths, like life is awesome, I am powerful, I deserve abundance. It's like, yes, hell yes. They go with the current of what brought us here, our eternal loving natures. When we think thoughts of like, I'm stupid, I don't like math, nobody likes me, I'd never have the right thing to say at the right time. It's like lie. They will always be lies. You are God Almighty. So it's as if our thoughts in alignment with truth, otherwise called positive, thoughts in alignment with truth, positive is judgment, but yeah, we know what we're talking about. Thoughts in alignment with truth are at least 10,000 times, if not 100,000 times, more powerful than our thoughts that are out of alignment with truth. Now, we're so powerful, we can make anything happen. We can unintentionally manifest, carnage, but it'll still play to our greater good eternally. And yet, with this realization of why so many of my fearful, negative, limited thoughts didn't come to pass, when timid, positive thoughts in alignment with truth did come to pass, it's like, well, of course. So I'll tell audiences, don't worry that you worry. Okay? You're coming out of primitive times right now. Caveman, cavewoman. Don't worry that you worry, but set a little bit of time aside, maybe with a vision board, maybe journaling, maybe creative visualization. Take some steps in the direction of transformation. Pretend and act as if it's already happened. You will become utterly unstoppable. Utterly unstoppable.
So, Mike, I agree with everything you're saying. And I want to kind of just dig a little deeper into the science of it, because there is a science behind what you're talking about. You see, a lot of people think of this as woo-woo and think of it as kind of like, oh, you just ask a genie for something and the genie comes out, those kind of images from the original Secret, which again had its place, but was kind of misleading in that way because it didn't tell the whole picture.
Right.
Your thoughts, the thoughts that you are creating in your mind, have an energetic vibration.
Yeah.
And that vibration could be high vibration or low vibration. Would you agree that the reason why the negative thoughts that are at a lower vibration and the timid positive thoughts overpower the negative thoughts in a way and make them come to pass a little bit faster than the negative, because it's just, of course it is, because positive thoughts, positive ideas, positive energy vibrate at just a higher level than negative thoughts or worry or fear. It's such a dense energy. And I'm trying to put this in a way that someone listening goes, these guys are just full of crap. These guys are just talking woo-woo stuff, and this doesn't make sense. And vibrations also don't make a whole lot of sense. But if you can just look at it from a scientific perspective, or can you explain it in a scientific way using quantum physics or the quantum field or what we're tapping into to kind of explain it in a different way than the way you have explained it? Because that does make sense. But for the other group of people listening right now who are going, I don't really get it, can you ground it more for me? Because there is a science behind this.
There is a science behind it, and lots is coming out, more and more so now than ever before. And even vibration sounds a little bit woo-woo to some folks, like, what's that? But a higher vibration is in alignment with the truth of the magnificence of divine mind that brought us here. That's not evidence. I'll say this, and then I'll give you some rock solid evidence. Okay. Our thoughts have an energy and a life force all their own that leave us once we think them, from which they strive literally to rearrange the circumstances and the players of our life to bring about their mirror likeness in physical form. That's still woo-woo. But here is not woo-woo. I said our thoughts in alignment with truth are like 10,000 times more powerful than thoughts out of alignment with truth. And okay, that's woo-woo, but check this. I bet you everyone watching or listening right now can attest to the fact that they have smiled. This is their own life's rock solid proof. Smiled 10,000 times more in their life than they've frowned. They have laughed 10,000 times more in their life than they've cried. They have had health 10,000 times more often than they've been sick. And even in sickness, they still have health. They have had clarity 10,000 times more in their life than they've been utterly lost and confused. They've had friends 10,000 times in their life more than they've been all alone with not a single human being to call. That's never even happened. Money, we've had money more than we're broke, and even when we're broke, we usually have some money in our pocket. And look at us as a civilization, as I just shared, with our heads in the sand, thinking that God is an angry white man and that people are jerks and that we were born broken sinners. We still have space stations. We still thrive. We still soar. We still cooperate in traffic. We still cooperate as nations. How many countries right now on earth are in an all-out, one-on-one, physical, violent war? 2, 3, 5? And how many countries are there? About 200. And isn't that the norm? Everywhere we see with DNA technology, scientific breakthroughs, smartphone innovations, artificial intelligence, we're killing it. Mm-hmm. That's the rock solid. If someone thought this was woo-woo, they would very likely think we all have a 50-50 shot at what? At success or at survival? Have we not destroyed and obliterated any notion of 50-50? There's no 50-50. We live and outlive and live longer and get better and find more joy and more forms of entertainment and more love in our families, to the point on planet Earth now, in spite of the naiveties, there's more inclusion, there's more discussions, there's more equality, there's more, it's like keeps getting better. Where does survival come in as our goal? We've obliterated that in our naiveties and ignorance when we get out of our own way and see the obvious and smell the coffee. And we'll see this in our lifetimes, Alex. If our lifetimes don't go, well, even especially since our lifetimes are going to go 500 and 1,000 years, or until we want to buzz on out of here, we're going to start seeing cooperation and love and a realignment of priorities, inclusivity that makes the sciences and the arts and love and joy in our hearts just shine like we can't even imagine right now. Heaven on earth, as the council from Sarah Landon talks about. It's at our feet, and we're just now noticing because we're finally getting out of our own way, and we've bought ourselves a little space with technology, and the damage technology has done to the environment will be our highest priority, and we will undo it. I don't know how long it'll take. It'll take a long time. I don't want to sound, untethered to the earth here. We've created a mess, but we are awesome and we are powerful, and technologies will come that'll accelerate our return to balance with Mother Earth. And it's just like, I think the evidence is our lives, the joy that moves in your heart. There's not equal measures of joy and love. I mean, joy and hate, excuse me. There's not equal measures of optimism and pessimism. We're soaring while ignorant. It's going to be a lot more when we're all clued in. And the cluing in is happening now, thanks to great shows like yours.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Well, what would you tell somebody who is a little lost or disconnected from their own spiritual journey, and they're hearing this and they're like, I just can't get out of the negative? I was there, you were there, that we're just living in our negative. We're watching too much negative television. We're watching the news. It's just all this kind of information, all this energy is coming in. Maybe you have a spouse who's like just pounding on you. Maybe you have a parent who's just not supportive, or your whole community around you, you're the only one listening to a show like this or reading books like yours, and you feel like you're lost and you have no one to talk to. What advice would you give that person to get out of that darkness where they are and find this light, man?
Well, maybe they were violated. And I mean, there's a lot of horror that happens the world over. I never denied that. But there's always an underlying purpose, meaning, and believe it or not, there's love somewhere in the scope of things. And it's not as important to understand where you've been or even where you are now as it is to understand moving forward. And coming from the bleakest corners, my first bit of advice would be to go out and help someone else. Go volunteer, go to hospice, go to an animal shelter, go see yourself make a difference. Be the bringer of smiles. Show up a little early, stay a little late, get a job, not for the money, unless of course you need it for the money, but get a job just to interact with people and be the one who makes a difference. In a bigger scale, if you have any kind of leanings or inclinations, what I did emerging from the dark night of my soul, I didn't know what would come next. I didn't want to go back to the corporate world. I didn't want to go back to retail, manufacturing, gifts, and stuff like that. I didn't know what I wanted other than wealth and abundance, friends and laughter, creative, fulfilling work, and international travel. And when you are utterly clueless as to the path, you can rest assured that the divine, your higher self, your greater self, is not clueless. It just needs some dots to connect. So I tell audiences this, may sound facetious. I mean it from the depths of my soul. Assess your sucky options. Okay? You probably got a lot of them. And if you didn't, if you've got some good options, well, then I'm not talking to you. You know what to go do. You have a direction to move in. But if, like me, your options all suck, assess them. You could public accounting, you could cut hair, you could mow lawns, you could pull weeds, you could work in human resources, whatever your sucky options are. Narrow that list down to the least 3 sucky. What are the least sucky options on your list? Give yourself a deadline, couple days, no more than a week, and start down those paths. I started sending out emails as Mike. That was not the life of my dreams. I had no idea where that would go. But taking action down any path breeds clarity, a clarity that could not have otherwise been obtained. I circulated my accountant's resume in spite of not wanting to go there. I was desperate. Let me get a job and I won't worry about money and then I'll figure it out. The clarity I got from those 2 paths. Number 1, I felt sick circulating my resume. Number 2, to my surprise, the hiring world was equally nauseous at the prospect of my return. I couldn't get an interview. And so after 3 months, I was like, forget it. Just forget it. You have honestly tried to go down that path to the best of my ability. I really tried to shine and every door slammed shut. On the other hand, with the creative writing, I remember thinking, I don't want to do this. but I had time on my hands. I said, "Oh, I'm sure Wayne Dyer has done this better than I'll ever do it. Louise Hay, Dr. Deepak Chopra. Why am I going to send out inspiration?" Because I was passionate about the nature of reality, have always been passionate about it, and I needed to hear it for myself. By the time I finished the first email I ever sent, an 8-hour day went by. I had 3 paragraphs describing that little poem about life, dreams, and happiness, about picture the end result in your mind. And by the end of it, I wrote this little essay about when you create a vision of the end result in your mind, you've actually created a mold that later the elements of time and space will rush to fill. And I was like, oh, damn, I bet you Dyer never said it like that. Oh, damn, this is good. And the clarity I got from taking baby steps down a path I really didn't want to take, writing for free, sending out an email, I was like, I had the time, was like, I liked writing, at least having written. My mom would say, other authors have said, I don't like writing, but I like having written. And I had put myself to it. You write good. It better be good. You better like it or you're not going to send it. And by the time I finished writing, I was like, that's good. And so that led to Daily Silver Bullets. Those were the names of my daily emails before they were Notes from the Universe. But that led to Notes from the Universe. That led to an audio program. That led to world tours. That led to being in The Secret. That led to 18 books, New York Times bestsellers. Taking action breeds clarity. So for those emerging from their own dark night of the soul or their whole lifetime of darkness, either try to lighten someone else's load as an employee, as a volunteer, walk kids across the streets in the school zones, just get out, serve animals, serve fur babies, work in a rescue society, just get out of the house, get out of your head. And, or if you're ready to take a longer journey, remember, it is the dirt path that leads to the diamond mine. And for me, the dirt paths that I went down, writing for free, a website for free, speaking at Toastmasters, where I was supposed to get over the fear of public speaking. Oh man, it just showed me how scared I was. I wondered if people could see my heart beating. It was pounding so hard. But my first speech at Toastmasters, I talked about thoughts become things, which was one of our best-selling t-shirts. And I talked about how by that time, 20 years into the Seth material, I had a lot of success stories. I couldn't explain my life at the time, but you don't have to explain your life. Look for the strengths, look for what worked. And I was able to relay an inspirational speech. And while I had to read my speech, I was so terrified with trembling hands and shaking paper and cotton mouth and knocking knees. I found I could write a good speech. It was a really good speech. It took me 2 weekends, 4 days nonstop to write a 4-minute speech, but I shook like a leaf on a tree in front of 11 people. But that led to Rotary clubs. That led to speaking at Unity churches who are all about metaphysics. That led to announcing to my email subscribers, I'm going to be speaking at the Holiday Inn in Orlando or London or Sydney or Honolulu. And it's like just beyond my wildest imagination.
Mike, I want to ask you this because this is something I haven't heard anyone ask before. Maybe you can shine some light on it. You've mentioned your higher self, the soul family, all this kind of stuff. I assume you understand, you believe in a soul blueprint, that we're here to learn. We create our life, we create a soul plan, all that kind of stuff, to learn lessons in this life. How does that interact with this law of attraction? If we are creating a blueprint of what we want to learn in this life, well, if we put on the blueprint, hey man, I got to go through some struggle here, how does the law of attraction mix into that? Because arguably you can law of attraction or manifest your way out of anything based on the conversation.
Yes.
Out of our conversation. So is the reason why you're throwing these obstacles in front of you so you can learn the lesson that we can manifest yourselves out of it? Or so how does that mix between the two, sir?
Oh, there's some good stuff there. Well, blueprints, I know exactly what you're talking about. Ancient spiritual contracts, I know exactly what you're talking about. Karma, even.
Sure.
These all are our attempts to apply words to certain phenomenon, not certain laws. There is no destiny. There is no fate. There are only probabilities and likelihoods, and we do choose those for our own growth and glory. So we can change our blueprint, change our ancient spiritual contracts, get off the wheel of karma, all through changing ourselves, changing our thoughts, changing our expectations, making new decisions. We can and do rewrite this stuff on the fly always. And no one would choose somebody. I remember that question several times. What if I chose this lifetime to experience poverty and lack? It's like, no one has ever chosen a lifetime to experience poverty and lack. It may have been on the radar. There may have been a reason, or maybe it was to be in an impoverished nation, so that family would have a much higher priority than, getting to Beverly Hills 90210. But it wouldn't be a life chosen to be beaten up and bruised just to know what it's like. Now, that's going to happen anyway. You're going to find that out anyway. We choose lifetimes only for our growth and glory. Now, there's tangents here. What about the child who dies at 2? What about, we can go there, but let's not look at little outliers again to dispel what is obviously discernible through observation and deductive reasoning. We choose all of our lives for joy, happiness, and love. And along the way, if these are places we haven't been before in other incarnations, we're going to have to go through territory we did not anticipate. And when you start following a dream out from the woodwork, lions and tigers and bears, if you want to go somewhere you've never been, you're going to be on terrain you've never seen. And you're like, oh, I need to toughen up this muscle. Oh, I need some more self-confidence. Oh, I need to get in front of an audience. And that's all for your growth and glory. And you can say at any point, no, stop this train. I'm going to go in this direction or that direction. But we can always know that from the zenith of our magnificence, brilliance, and divinity, that's where the options were chosen and the probabilities were perceived that brought about a choice to be fill in your name here. And from that place, you knew what you were doing. And from that place, it would have been about becoming more, about knowing the truth more, about deeper love, about maybe other priorities, but always with the ability to say, maybe I chose, a certain likelihood from a certain lifetime, but it's just not filling me up, or it's just too painful, or it's too scary. There would still be infinite other paths and probabilities in that lifetime, as is true for all lifetimes, to rewrite your ticket and try something else. If you're here and you're still breathing, you are still who you most wanted to be, and you are still who God most wanted to be. Putting words to it metaphorically, you are it, and go live that life and wait it out, be patient, take action, get busy, go serve, be of service, and the sun will rise again.
Beautiful answer to that, my friend. Now, Mike, I could talk to you for at least another 6 hours, but I know you have things to do as well as I. So I'm going to ask you a few questions I ask all of my guests. How do you define a fulfilled life?
I would say a fulfilled life will come most effortlessly, but it can come the hard way. Most effortlessly when we do tune into our feelings, our desires, our dreams. Those are channeled. Those are not fantasy. Those are not made up. Mm-hmm. Those are from our pipeline to our highest, most magnificent self. And so if you've got a desire to go this way, or to write a book, or to be of service, or to give up whatever, listen to those desires. Don't refute them. Don't settle for less. Start moving in the direction you feel drawn. And that doesn't mean it's going to be the yellow brick road from day one, but enjoy that road, because it will become the yellow brick road. And you will look back on your life, as I look back at the dark night of my soul, and I'm like, oh, little Mike, keep going. It's going to be so good. If you could see what I see right now, oh, little Mike, oh my gosh, it's all unfolding perfectly. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. There's new opportunities that will just blow your mind. Just hang in there. And so that little Mike must have heard the call back, and it's like, well, I'm going to keep writing. Well, I'm going to deal with my irrational fear of speaking and just do it, because I love talking about the nature of reality. It's just, in front of more than 2 people, it freaked me out. So face that fear. You're bigger than that. You're drawn down that road for a reason. And so if you're moving of your own volition in a direction that is at least your least sucky paths, I promise the scenery will change. You're going to find fulfillment. You're going to find yourself. You're going to find service. I would run away from service. Like I said, I was like, no, I'm not here for that. But you're going to live a life of service. My new thing, your passion is your purpose, and your purpose is to serve. Or I'm playing with it. Your passion is your purpose, and your purpose will lead you to service. You don't even have to think of the service unless you're coming out of real darkness. Just your passion. But people will say, I don't know my passion. Well, just go do the least sucky thing, and it will lead you. When I get GPS navigation, it begins with the end result. The end result dictates the left and the right-hand turn. And the end result will invariably have me go left on Cypress Isle Court. And that's not the road I'm going to arrive on. Every journey begins on the wrong street, because the street you're on doesn't go there. But by going down the street, now you're moving. You're guided by the destination. Guidance is forthcoming. Make a legal U-turn, turn left at the red light. That guidance is not forthcoming when your life's in park and you're waiting for things to get better. You're contradicting yourself, just like your car's in park.
That is beautiful. Well, I'm sorry, Mac. I'm going to have to steal that GPS analogy. That is brilliant, my friend. That's
the end result forces the details as long as your car is rolling.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Now, I always ask about if you could go back in time and talk to little Mike, what would you say? You've already answered that question. So I'll go to the next one. How do you define God or source or the universe?
Oh my gosh. Well, everything, everywhere, always at once. There is not a mote of dust or a piece of glass or a willow tree that isn't pure 100% radiant divinity. And that, of course, includes us. There's magic everywhere. Life is one nonstop miracle. This is truly heaven on earth. It's not going to become heaven on earth. We're going to realize we were here all along. And then with our power, because we're immersed in truth, our vibrations rise. We activate latent biological features. We know all things relevant to every decision we make. It's like, oh my God, it's just bliss, just radiant bliss. And that's why we're here.
And what is the ultimate purpose of God? Ultimate purpose of life.
This is a word that Sarah, the council, would use: expansion, which means more growth, more glory, more love, more joy. And then more growth, more glory. The council says there's always more. There's always more. From where they are, there's always more. So the purpose of life is to live it. The meaning of life is to love it. And really, we can't get it wrong. Even in the darkest of darkness, even with an empty stomach, even if you were to transition from this life, the doors fly open, the marching bands begin, you find all of your loved ones, and you're like, oh, I didn't have to take it so hard. I didn't have to be so serious. Oh, let's go back. Let's go back and we'll tune into Next Level Soul and we'll read Hay House books. Let's go back and be each other's best friend and be reminders. Let's go back until we're totally fluent at this spiritual ease of which we were born of, so that life is just a nonstop joy.
Beautiful. And this is a question I want to ask you. I haven't asked before. 3 books that everyone who's interested in this world that we've been talking about should read.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, just 3.
As much as I'm not a reader, in the last 3 years since COVID, I've been a fiend. Mm-hmm. So I would say Ken Carey. Have you read Ken Carey?
I'm not.
He wrote in the 70s or 80s the Starseed Transmissions, which blew up huge. I found them 3 years, that book in my my shelves 3 years ago, and I was like, this guy's talking about awakening and enlightenment. He's passed away. I wish you could interview him. But then I said, what else did he read? Return of the Bird Tribes. And then The Third Millennium is like kapow. But I would almost read them in the order I shared. Well, I've just named 3 books, but I'm also reading Vagrian right now. The Seth books. Oh, I can't do that. Siddhartha,
Richard Bach. Richard Bach.
But read Ken Carey. Oh, yeah. Ken Carey Return of the Bird Tribes, and The Third Millennium. Oh my God.
All right. Perfect.
Oh my God. But
Now,
there's so many good books these days.
Yeah, and they're coming out more and more, and they're becoming more accessible through shows like this, through the work that you're doing to get it out to the world a little bit bigger than it, other than just being in the occult section. Now, where can people find out more about you, your amazing new book with Sarah, and other things that you're doing in the world?
Well, TUT.com. Now it stands for The Universe Talks. Mm-hmm. And the notes go out for free Monday through Friday. We have a membership. We have real life tours. I'm taking a group to Tahiti. Come with us, Alex, in I think it's April next year. South Africa tours. I do online courses all the time. TUT.com. Lots of stuff for free. And if you like it, there's stuff that you can choose always at a, usually variable pricing to make it easy for every budget.
And do you have a parting message for the audience?
Thoughts become things. Choose the good ones. While you choose your words wise and behave wise and introspect and ask questions, it all goes together. But the bottom line is you get what you think about.
My friend, I appreciate you coming on. I feel like I found a new soul brother in our battle to awaken the planet. So I truly appreciate you and everything you have done and are doing and will do to help awaken the planet. So I appreciate you, my friend.
Alex, I appreciate you. Thanks for all the great work you do. I'm inspired.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.